Hi, welcome. So, hopefully, this will be a series of recordings for our class on web application programming. This would help us to have an interactive class outside of the classroom and allow us to learn some basic principles which would help us to grow in terms of IT. Now, but today we're coming to discuss the things we've been doing in class. What we've been doing in class mainly is to write an application whereby we have a form, we take information from the form, we load the information from the form, we process the form, and we put that information into a database. Very, very simple, but a task in which needs practice. And most of you seem to not know how to do it. So we would use today to learn how to do it. Now, I'm going to create a folder in my htdocs. This will allow me to interact with the server and then have all the capabilities of that. So I'll add a folder. I'll go to add. I'll go to Zap. I'll go to htdocs. And in here, I'll create a folder and call it online. Online. Now, I'm going to open the online folder and click on select folder. This would allow the online folder to be opened here in my Atom. As you can see, I've closed all my applications in Atom. It is empty for me to fill how I want it. Now, on my online folder, I'll create a new file. To create a new file, I would right-click on the online, click on New File, and then in here, I would type index.php. This will allow me to create an index file. I would use this file as my main file to type in my code. Now I'm going to write a simple application to add two numbers. Now for me to do that, I need a form. I need a form so that the user can enter his details into the application. To do a form, I need my form tags. So I have the open tag and I have the close form tag. Now, a form has certain attributes. This is very important. This is very important we understand these attributes. They are very important to us. The first attribute, which is so important to us, is the method. It's the method. The method allows us to send the information of our form in two ways, in a get or a post. A get means that that information will be processed through the URL of our browser. A post means it will be encrypted and sent behind the scenes in our browser. Now note that there are some data which is sensitive. Credit card info, password info, sensitive user info. All of this info would use the post attribute of the method. Now, the get we can use for objects which will be passing through our URL. For what we'll be doing, we'll be using the post. Now remember, for our in the form, there has to be an action. The action states that once I'm done with the information of my form, where does that information go? Where should it go? What location should that information go? If I leave it empty, it means I want that information to remain in the index.php file. Normally, we'll put in a hash there, and it means the same thing. I want it to remain here. So I'll save it. Now, my form elements come in between my form. Take this as like a parcel. So I have wrapped the parcel with the content going to be here. And this is like my stamp, and this is my address where I want the information to go to. Now I type the elements of my form. First, I need my input tag. So now, what type of input do I want? So I need the type attribute. And in this case, I need a number attribute because the information I'll be entering are two numbers. After that, I'll need to put in the name of my form input, which is going to be number 1. Let me do it number 1. And then I need to put in an ID of my input tag. This tag, how do I identify it? I identify it as number 1. Now the num1 here is going to be the name value that is associated. The input data here, the num value here is associated with this one, the post. So if I want the content of this, I use the num value here to get the content of this. That is the num1. But if I want to identify this input, then I use the ID field to uniquely identify this input in the sea of inputs I'll be using in my application. Of course, after that I can put in a placeholder so that the user can know what to type. So I can just say enter number 1 ... I bring a slash and a close. Then I can highlight this, copy it and paste it. Change this to 2. Change this to 2. And then here I will have enter number 2. Now, my next input will be of type submit. Now, this means that once I click on this input, I am going to be submitting my form. My form is going to be loaded based on me clicking this submit button. So then I have the name value of it, which is submit. I have the ID value of it, which I'm going to make capital S submit, so we see the difference between the two. And then finally, I'm going to conclude this by stating the value of it. Now, the value will be what will be written inside the button. So in this case, my value would be add. Some of you thought I'll say submit, right? It's going to be add. Now, if I open this in my browser, then I would see what I have done. How do I open this in my browser? First of all, I must open the browser in question, type in localhost / the name of my folder, the folder I created inside the htdocs. And in my case, the name of the folder is online. So all I have to do is type online. So we can see number 1, number 2, when I click this button, then it will add it for me. Very simple. Now, I have put in a value here. I've put in a value here. I've clicked on add. Nothing happened because I have not collected the values I have put into these buttons. So I must go and collect them. How do I do that? I first of all start by writing my PHP tags because all the code I'm going to be writing is of PHP type. The next thing I do is I go with the if is set into brackets $_post. And I have 2 square brackets and then I put inside it submit. I end with this. Now this statement here is very important. It states that until I click on the submit button, nothing must be done. So everything will be done on me clicking on the submit button, on the submit button being set to have a value. And the submit button is only set to have a value, which is add, when I click on it. So until I click on it, the submit button does not have a value. So first thing I have to do is go and collect the values from the form. Now I'll create a variable in PHP which starts with the $sign. So I'll say $1 is equal to $_post, square brackets, then I bring my single lines, and then the name value, which is what? $1. So it means this value here, that is the value I typed here, will be collected using post and put inside this num1 value, and that information will be placed inside $1. I'll come back here and say $2 is equal to $_post, square brackets, that $2. Then I'll end with sum. Remember, $sum is equal to $1 plus $2, square brackets. Don't forget the $sign, because that's what makes it a variable. So at this stage, I can just say echo sum, and this would display the information for me. So when I click in here now, let me refresh the form. Click here, click. Let me just refresh the form. Ooh, sorry. Okay, so I have 12 plus 12 giving me an undefined number has been put in. Ooh, so I have a problem on line 10. Let's go and see what is on line 10. So on line 10, I have a problem. I'm saying $2 here. Over here, I have $1. So here, I have to just change it to $2. Then I'll come back online. I'll refresh my form. Let me clear this button here. Click in. So I have 12, add, have 24 showing here. Now, you can see that everything is on one line because there are no breaks in my code. So here I will come, click in, and put in a break. I'll click in here too and put in a break. And then I'll click here too and put in a break. I'll refresh my screen. So I have another value here, another value here. This is just a simple application to add numbers together. Of course, if I wanted to subtract numbers, I'll just change this to a minus. So I could subtract. So this is just a simple application to accept numbers from a form. This is the procedure we go to. Remember, you have form, the method of which you want to send the information. Now, if I wanted to send the information as a get, so here should be a get, that means these values here have to be what? Get. Now, if I'm using a get, let's see what happens when I do a get. So if I put 12 in here, 12 in here, and I add, we can see the values are here. We can see num1 is 12, num2 is 12, and we can see what values, and they are all in the URL. Can we see that? They're all in the URL. But it doesn't matter if it's a get or a post, we use this or $_post to get the values we want. This is a very important skill for us. That's why I'm going to. There'll be another video on how to take information and put it inside a database when we require it. Let me know if this video helps and if we need more of this. If you don't, that's fine. Then we'll know what to do. Thank you.